Sponsored by the Aura Salt Cave, offering holistic services unique to the alternative health and wellness community. They're located at 6429 Transit Road in East Amherst, online at aurasaltcave.com. And Dr. Todd Shatkin, Western New York's leader in general and cosmetic dentistry, located at the Aesthetic Associates Center, 2500 Kensington Avenue, online at drtshatkin.com.
Welcome to this very special edition of Passionate Living from Brooklyn, New York. Today, my favorite bridge is behind me, the Queensboro Bridge, also known as the 59th Street Bridge for those of you who are Simon & Garfunkel fans. You may know the song. Also known as the Ed Koch Bridge, and I got to interview Ed years ago, and what a great interview that was. Today, we're going to meet someone right here behind me in Brooklyn, New York, who combined her passions to put together a creative business that helped to lift people during the pandemic. As well, we're going to be talking to Helen Battisti. Helen is going to share with us today a little bit of health information about how important it is not to sit for extended periods of time. But first, we're going to join Samantha Latchaw for a very special tea time. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's have a great passionate living adventure. Welcome to Tea Time with Sam and Kat. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How about yourself?
Doing great. And how is our new host, Baby Latchaw?
Baby Latchaw's doing well as well, thank you. Some days are good, some days are a little rough, but overall I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Baby Latchaw, behave yourself in there.
Yes.
This is your Auntie Kat.
Has been giving Mommy quite a few headaches lately, so I'm trying to work through that.
Yeah, send some good energy. So you have something fun for everybody today, especially in light of coming out, for all of those on the East Coast, coming out of the winter where everything is a little drier on the skin. And
absolutely. But before I get to that, let me pour you some tea.
Oh my gosh, I'll pour you some tea.
Thank you. Do you know what do we have today?
Let me pour it on the table. We have a wonderful peach tea today.
Oh, peach.
It's a Georgia peach tea.
Ah.
And I love peaches, and I thought you might enjoy this.
Very summery, which I wish it was so outside, not so much, but I love peach. Let me have a... Oh, lovely. Thank you so much for bringing that, Kat.
You're so welcome.
So as you were saying, winter, right?
Winter.
You know, one of the things that gets most affected during the winter are your lips.
Yes.
And with the dryness, that doesn't look so pretty when you're wearing lipstick.
No.
Especially if you want to wear a fun, bold lip. So what do? Just like the rest of your face and your skin, you should exfoliate. But I'm all about natural remedies.
I love that.
Absolutely, right? Natural's the way to go.
Yes.
So with a natural remedy for your lips, it's just a natural lip scrub, and it's just 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then you mix that with 1 tablespoon of honey. And
Wonderful. Boy, this is going to be delicious on the lips. Now, not only is it natural, but it's tasty.
Yes, so it is safe to eat if you swallow it by accident. So you just kind
Which I might do. It could happen.
So just combine that. And once you work up a nice little paste.
Okay.
See if you can get a nice little shot of that. Once you have that nice consistency of the paste, will be ready to go. So this paste is now worked out to a perfect consistency. I already have lipstick on. So I'm gonna show you on my hands, which as you can see, winter has already worked its troublesome dryness on my skin. I can't even remember the last time I put lotion on. So I'm just going to show you, wow, this is nice and thick, isn't it? There we go.
It looks delicious.
So
you can eat your hand later.
You definitely could eat your hand. So you would just rub this against your lips and just kind of just, you know, exfoliate all that dead skin.
Oh, okay.
Just rub for a few minutes.
That's wonderful. And the sugar itself takes off the dead skin and the honey pulls out any dryness.
Yes, exactly. Honey is actually a natural moisturizer as well.
And a natural antibiotic.
Honey
like if you have a cut, you can put honey on it.
Gift of the gods. So after you work up a good scrub on the lips, just clean off with a nice warm, damp towel.
I bet you wish you had one right now.
I do wish
we didn't think that out.
Pretend I had this towel with me because right now my hands are a little gooey, but let's pretend I had a towel. Okay, so once you clean that off, you would then put on the lipstick. But I'm usually on top of my game with this.
Right.
I try to do this at least once a week. And what I do, because I want to prevent that from like layering up when I do want to like wear my lipstick. So what I personally do, I actually do this once a week at night.
Oh, that's a good idea.
As part of like a weekly nighttime regimen. And then I actually just moisturize. So I'll put on like a nice natural lip balm and go to bed. So when I wake up in the morning, my lips are just so soft and velvety and ready to go.
I love it, Sam. That's why you're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. You as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that today. I can't wait to try it.
My pleasure.
Once I take my lipstick off today, I'm going to
eat this now. Eat my hand.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
And thank you so much. I have a very special guest on the show with me today, Dr. Helen Battisti, and I had your husband Francis on with me recently. You're like the ultimate power couple, Helen. You're just like, the two of you together are such a wealth of information, and I'm so blessed to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Oh gosh, thank you for inviting us. It's really a pleasure, very much so.
It's such a joy. And you have such wonderful information on something that I'm fascinated with, that I've really become much more interested in the last few years than ever before. As far as stress goes on the gut, what are some of the things that we can do other than probiotics to help that? You know how I know for me, whenever I'm stressed out about something, whenever something's going on, it goes right here, right to my gut. It's like, I can just feel it in the solar plexus almost. What are some tools that you could share with us today?
Activity is critical. Activity is what gives the massage to the gut, to the abdomen. So keeping in mind your stomach is high, your stomach is above that belly button, and the small intestine is sitting below it, and the large intestine wraps around just about underneath your belly button. And so oftentimes people are relating to their abdomens and saying their stomach. But when you're exercising or just being active, just, non-purposeful movement of the day, that gives a constant massage to that small intestine and it keeps things moving along. When we sit for too long and we eat, and of course when we crunch back, think where that stomach is and think what you're doing to your small intestine especially. And so being able to have proper posture is just critical.
Most of the time, how many people, and now everyone's Zooming, they're sitting at their desks all day, they're not getting up as often, it's easier to get in the zone, and we forget how important movement is. Wouldn't they say sitting is the new smoking? I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we try, right now, one recommendation, and this is just one of many, my husband speaks a lot about stress management, and that is, we can relax our bodies. We can even change the heart rhythm, change temperatures.
Right.
I mean, there's so much that we can do to try to ease things so everything isn't really tense. But just coming back to that activity, health professionals are encouraging individuals to try to get the 10,000 steps a day. When we were back in the 1960s, the average person covered about 18,000 steps a day.
Wow.
In a regular day.
Is
And
it
if you
that
think
much
back,
of a difference from the 60s to now?
yes,
Wow.
and if you think back to the 60s, if a household had a car, it was usually one. And whoever was the breadwinner had the car, and everybody else was on foot or bicycles. And if you think about the layouts of cities and towns, most of them were on grids. There were sidewalks. The community held our schools, our churches, our shops, it was all within walking distance.
Right.
And it wasn't until we started urban sprawl, which accidentally limited the ability of people to be mobile. So I applaud people for getting to the 10,000 because it is not easy, certainly not as easy as it was in the 1960s. And in the same breath, 10,000 is just the start, just the start. We need to be pushing higher.
one of dear, just a soul who I've gotten to meet through the years and talk to on many an occasion is Ed Begley. And I remember he told me one time that he hooked a bicycle up to the television so that no one could watch TV unless they were bicycling.
Pedaling?
What a brilliant idea.
That is a brilliant idea.
It's so great, yeah. But just,
absolutely.
Yeah, but we could play games with ourselves too, I suppose, by, okay, if I'm going to sit down and like watch this show, before I do it, I'm going to go walk around the block a couple times, or just something to get ourselves into a pattern of being more active, because it really does help relieve stress, and it does help the gut a lot.
And digestion, it helps so much. And just one other tip is, I think sometimes we hear 10,000 steps or 18,000 steps, and it sounds so huge. But in reality, each mile we walk is approximately 2,000 steps, the average pace style. And the average person walks 3 miles an hour. So if you walk 20 minutes, you've got 2,000 steps. And so when you start to like partition it down, that's not very, I mean, who can't walk 20, limit, if someone has disabilities, I'm not inclusive there. But for the majority of people, who can't take a 20-minute walk? Get 2,000 steps.
True.
I know,
so
and really
true.
help ease some of the digestive issues, whether, so many people struggle from irritable bowel disorders, with Crohn's, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome. I mean, there's a lot. And we can do a lot, combining the mind and the body.
And it's more popular now in our society than it ever has been, because of our diet, because of the lack of exercise, because things in some ways have become so much more convenient for us and so much better. But on that same note, it's a double-edged sword, that because of that convenience of just grabbing a drive-through meal and not cooking, or just plopping down when you get home and not even getting up to turn on the TV or turn it off. We have the remote control.
Remote control.
The convenience has worked against us in a lot of ways.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being with us today.
My pleasure.
And sharing your wisdom with us. And those are great tips for everybody to just start to integrate into their life, just to use a probiotic, to eat more fiber, to exercise, things that our grandparents told us growing up. They're so simple.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
But so easy to miss in our day-to-day.
It is. And our culture makes it hard to even do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you again. And please come back
thank
again soon. I look forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you. I would love to. Thanks for the
Wonderful.
opportunity.
Thanks.
right, that like the only way to survive is to change. And I felt that not just in March 2020, I felt that like in October of 2015 when we first opened.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I remember the first year I was just throwing everything at the wall going, let's try this, let's try this, let's do this.
Paige, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
This is the coolest place. I was walking around. Tell me how you started this.
Well, I kind of always wanted to have a bookstore, and then I went to Sicily around the age of 19, came back completely inspired. I had met my family there for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And my way of connecting with them was cooking Sicilian food. And so I started collecting Sicilian cookbooks, like cooking since I was a little kid, and I basically just tried to like roll all of my favorite things into one place.
So you're a creative force of nature.
Oh, I don't know, but
I'm going to describe
it does feel like a force. Like there is a force that's like forcing me to do all this stuff. And I don't know where it's coming from. It's a deep mystery, but I don't know if I'm a creative force of nature. But there's something going on propelling me. Yes.
Wow. Tell me, what is you? It's a bookstore.
Yeah.
It's a food store.
Yes.
It's
all
your passions.
We have in the store both shelved together new and vintage books, which felt important to me to kind of have everything together and not also only have new books, but to also have things that were, old community cookbooks and pamphlets and things that were out of print. And then also we've got a lot of Sicilian and Italian imported foods that are of the finest quality, like the kind of stuff that, it's a little pricier, but when you have it, it's like experiential.
So you take the guesswork out of it for people. They don't have to experiment and try a lot of different items. You have the best items here. That's great. When it comes to your cooking, you don't mess around.
I don't mess around. The thing I love about cookbooks are that they're so personal. And so I just cooked the food that I grew up with and the things that I love to make, and that was Sicilian food, and so that's the cafe. So it's a Sicilian cafe and a bookstore. And since the pandemic, we've also expanded into a grocery.
Wow.
And we're also doing events.
Well, because I think that was the secret for people that had to go through the pandemic as entrepreneurs. If you didn't get creative, if you didn't change it up and roll with things, you weren't going to make it through financially. And you changed it up. You started doing other things here that helped to bring people in.
Yeah, and I think that you're right, that like the only way to survive is to change. And I felt that not just in March 2020, I felt that like in October of 2015 when we first opened. You know what I mean? Like I remember the first year I was just throwing everything at the wall going, let's try this, let's try this, let's do this. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, people need food, like let's get them groceries. Like there's no fresh produce right now in a place that feels safe for people to go. Like they didn't want to go to the wonderful like grocery sources that we have in the neighborhood already because it was all indoor spaces, and they hadn't quite pivoted yet to figuring out how to deliver groceries in this way that made people feel safe.
So the question is, the $1 million question. There's a young person has these passions, or any age person who has these passions, and they want to tie them together and do something, that drive, they feel it, and to do it. What would you tell them?
Well, I think that you should first of all not worry about what sort of the path that society tells us is the path to get there. If you're really passionate about something, but you feel like there are these sort of like mental barriers that are stopping you, or even just like experience barriers, or it's just, or if you feel like you have to go up some kind of ladder, like get rid of that. And then what you do is, I mean, like what I did was I took so many free, I didn't have any money, I took so many free classes through the city. So I looked up every single city and municipal resource that I could find, and I had no idea how to start a business. I remember taking the class, like 10 steps to starting your own business. I probably took that 10 times because like I could not, it was so boring. Like there's so much information, like just about, getting, incorporating and all the sales tax information.
And so you just took all the free classes you could and then just went for it.
Yeah.
I once had a girlfriend say to me, you know, I was telling her, well, come on, just do it. She's like, well, you're lucky. You're not afraid of anything. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm afraid of something every day of my life, but I do it anyhow.
Yeah.
And that's like when you're putting it out there in the world. You know, I go onto a set and I'm like, okay, is this going to work? Are the lights going to work? What's going to happen? But you just do it, right? And
Yeah, you have to follow the fear, because that's like the areas where you're going to grow.
I always said it's the Geiger counter for where the juice is.
Yeah,
like, because most people don't go there. And when you get on the other side of that fear, that's where all the good stuff is. Yeah.
Totally.
But I love how you used your passions to really rise up for the community, to help the community during a difficult time.
I mean, I think, like, I love the way that you're telling your people's personal stories, and I feel like that's kind of, for me, even though I have a space, it's really about the relationships and the people that we meet, and everything's become much more vulnerable and personal, and I've even been like a little bit on social media, just more sharing my authentic story, and I feel like, you know, like that's what it is. It's like we're kind of taking off the masks of who we are, and
taking off the masks. I like that.
It's a little on the nose.
Good metaphor.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what inspired me when the whole pandemic started, and you know, here I am back in Buffalo and running the station, and the owner was like, yeah, do a show to lift people's spirits, because I was feeling so helpless. I wanted to do more to help, and I'm like, I could do that, but you, beautiful lights, people like you who are doing this work, living your passions, really stepping up for the community, even in these difficult times, it makes all the difference in the world. And I love people knowing that, because it's an inspiration to everybody. Oh, well, Paige, thank you so much. Oh, you are amazing.
You're so sweet.
You too. I love this. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Passionate Living. I want to thank our generous sponsors for their support in making this show possible. Both Aura Salt Caves and Dr. Todd Shatkin are two of my favorite businesses in Western New York, and I'm proud to have them be a part of our show. Make sure to join us each week on Tuesday and Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. Also, you can go to passionateliving.com to see past shows, as well as our YouTube channel, passionateliving.tv. Most importantly, thanks to you, our extraordinary viewer. This show is a labor of love for everybody who helps to produce it each week, and I am so honored to share this adventure with you. And remember, until next week, there's no one in this world like you. Your smile, your personality, your brightness for all things that inspire you is so unique. Let your light shine as brightly as you can, as the world definitely needs you now more than ever. I'm sending a big hug to each and every one of you watching this evening, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Passionate Living.